Consistent self-improvement, everybody. We could start it like that. You are now listening to American gypC Podcast. I am your host, Classic. I am here with my co-host,
gypC, and today we have Fletcher Ellingson.
Ellingson. Yeah.
I always mess it up. Sorry.
Welcome back.
Welcome back. You guys might remember him from episode 20 of season 2. He is the creator of the practice of feeling good in business and in life.
Mm-hmm.
Welcome.
Thank you. And today I dragged along my son, Oliver Ellingson.
How's it going?
Hey, buddy.
And we'd like to thank Fletcher and Oliver for coming in. This is our first repeat guest that has come into the studio. So
cool.
Wow.
Thank you.
Yeah. Happy to be here.
It's a lot.
Yeah, my pleasure.
Yeah. And to open it up with some magic. So it's amazing.
Everybody loves magic. Oh,
yeah.
I mean, most people love magic. I love it. You know, what I love about magic is that moment that you experience, that bewilderment, that moment of like, wait, how did that happen? How did they do that? Right? Yeah. Because it is so uncommon for adults, especially, to have that moment of bewilderment and bemusement and amusement at our age, because we've seen it all, right?
Right.
We've seen it all on TV and the movies, but to have something right before you that your mind can't make sense of, that sense of wonderment. Ooh, I love that moment. I love to be fooled myself.
Yeah.
It's so funny because, it's done well, because frequently the thing that the audience member will say is like, how did you do that? And right. It seems like such a cliche thing to say, like, how did you do that? But it's just what comes out of your mouth because the mind can't make sense of it.
Right.
Yeah. It feels really good. Speaking of the practice of feeling good, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Good.
Before we got started, Fletcher did a little magic trick, which was pretty crazy. He had me pick out a card a week ago before he even got here, and then guessed the right card, which is pretty crazy.
And she also guessed this card as well, which is pretty magical.
Yeah,
which is crazy as well.
And then Classic and I chose the exact same.
Card. Yeah, I didn't write mine down, but I wrote it down the day of. But I chose my card a week ago. So.
Yeah,
I didn't even know you did magic. How long you been doing magic?
About 30 years.
Okay.
Yeah. So
how did you get into it?
How did I get into it? I had my cousin came home. I was in high school. My cousin came home from his first year in college, and he'd learned some card tricks in a bar. And he came home and showed me this stuff. And again, the first thing out of my mouth was like, how did you do that? Right? I couldn't make sense of it. And I just had to know. And so I kind of got bit by the bug. And so I just started reading, watching, and practicing. And then when I got into college, things had advanced. And that was one of the ways I actually made some of my money. So I went down and was a busker on the corners down in Pike Place Market in Seattle and other places, and just was down there just doing my stuff over and over and over again, honing my skills and, making some money, learning how to attract an audience, learning how to address an audience, how to interact, right? There's a lot of skills that you learn when you're on the street performing. Yeah. I mean, and I had no knowledge of that until I did it. And there's a lot of psychology in it as well.
Yeah.
Right? There really is. Like, how do you connect with strangers? Because strangers don't trust strangers. So how do you get someone to trust with you and then interact? It was really quite an education. And then I just loved it. It was a great way to connect with people. And a couple of my friends in college, we put together an act and we started doing that, and then got married, and I just kept on going. And then we developed the big stage show with Oliver. We were just saying before we started, like, we'd make them float in the air and disappear from trunks and reappear and all sorts of stuff. So it's always been a part of my life, and it's a great way to connect with people, just like we did.
What are some of the coolest secrets of magic that you can't really share, but you can share at the same
Sure.
time?
You know, the levitations are always baffling to me.
Yeah.
And when you see like somebody levitate and it just looks so clean, it's I think that one's always one of my favorites because I think people have this fantasy about flying, you know, or just being weightless and being able to float. And to see it is intriguing to me. So I've always loved the levitation, but my passion is close-up magic. And I got to tell you, what's neat about it is that you're doing something all the while it's supposed to look like you're not doing anything. And so there's the challenge, right? Like, how can you do all these sleights without it look like you're doing any sleights, right? It's like the ultimate in deception.
Right.
Yeah.
But yeah,
Illusionist was one of my favorite movies.
oh yeah, that was a good one.
Yeah,
That was a really good one. Yeah, I liked that.
I just love watching it back to back, and I'm gonna say it was DVD. It had to been back in the DVD days.
Yep. But you know what's funny about magic is if people knew what we were doing, it would be really boring. It'd be really boring if they knew how. Because it's kind of like, I mean, even like
it's still magic.
It's still magical. Yeah.
Still magic.
Yeah. Absolutely.
You have as far as they have the magic, I think it's the Magic Castle.
Magic Castle.
Yeah.
You're right here. And
have you ever
Hollywood
been there before?
Yeah, on multiple occasions. And if you get an opportunity to do that, oh man.
I recently had someone ask me, they like last weekend they were visiting and she was saying that her I think her husband was interested in going to the Magic Castle. It's like we know it was invitation only, but I had no idea where to point you to. I've picked up plenty of people from there when I used to drive over here. But yeah, I've never, as far as met anyone, or can't say I necessarily wanted to just go in there and see it right off.
Well, it's a delightful evening and it's like a full night of adventure because you have the opportunity to see, I think it's either 5 or 6 shows. So you're there, you go there for drinks beforehand, you go over there for dinner, and then there are shows. There's a close-up show, a parlor show, and then a stage show. And I think that there are I think you can see a total of 5 or 6 different shows. So there's multiple performers, but it's so much fun. And even the stage show is pretty close up. But my favorite is the close-up room. It's a really steeply raked audience, and it's just like about, I think there's like 25 people in there at the most. And so you're right on top of the performer, and it's just like performing miracles, and you're like, what the heck?
I can only imagine.
Yeah.
Never heard of it. I have to check it out.
So when we're ready to go, we could reach out to you, and somebody that could send us a magic owl.
Actually, I do. Yeah. If you ever want to go, I can put you in touch with some people that are members, and probably can get you a pass.
Okay.
Yeah, you don't have to be a magician to be there. You just have to have an invitation from a magician that's a current member.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
And even when I heard that, I was like, that's pretty cool.
Yeah.
Because, the audience is definitely connected or into it.
Yes. Yeah.
So what were some of your fears when you first started? I know for me, I did some street performing down for our listeners down in 7th and Fig here in downtown LA for a while. And of course, you have your nervousness of when you're going out there, and I guess making mistakes, I got used to that. As a musician, I could do that, a musician, but as a magician, what did the mistakes cost?
Oh yeah. And there were many of them.
Yes. When you're doing it for a life.
Yeah,
for a living. Yeah.
Yep. I mean, I was just practicing. I mean, I was just honestly just practicing, trying. It was such a wonderful place to try out new material, because I had a new audience every 10 minutes. Right.
Yeah.
And so lots of practice, but yeah, like, you're doing all this stuff and you're about to produce their card, and you turn it over and they're like, oh, that's not my card. I'm like, Oh, whoops. There's no recovery.
Yeah.
This was supposed to be your card. Are you sure? Did you forget? There's no recovering after that. You're like, okay, well, move on. How about this one? So
Have you ever had any moments like you knew that was that person's card, or they may have been just lying?
yes, I actually had the biggest time that somebody tried to put one over on me. It was a stage show, and I had a guy select a card, and I had my head turned, and he took it, and I said, all right, now put it back in the deck, and then hand it to me, and then I'll turn around. And he said, okay, I'm done. So I took back the cards, and I went through my entire routine for this bit, which was about 7 minutes. And at the end, when I asked him to, I was about to find his card, and I had pulled one out, and he stood up and he said, oh, there's no way you're going to find my card because I still have it right here. So he was like one of those moments where I'm going to fool the magician and make him look foolish. And the audience was all, oh no, they were feeling badly for me.
Yeah.
But I was able to recover because I dropped my pants and turned around and bent over, and the boxers I was wearing had his card on it, written on it. so it was perfect. I mean, he kind of spoiled the effect a little bit, but I already knew what card he had selected and had already taken measures to ensure that I was going to reveal it. I just wasn't planning on that. So the reveal was still good, and the audience actually went crazy. They're like, what? And it kind of magnified the effect.
Magical. Yeah.
Yeah.
I always just go to the next song.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
It's a different industry.
Yep.
But yeah, the mistakes are definitely there, and it's a part of life. It's a part of getting better. And
absolutely,
you'll definitely get better.
Absolutely, yeah. I mean, mistakes are. Well, I think that expression, mistakes are the only thing that we can truly call our own, right? That saying, and I mean, there's a lot of truth in that, right? I mean, those are our greatest teachers, our mistakes.
Yeah. So Oliver,
yeah,
you know any magic?
I have a few. I've got a few tricks, but my dad had a rule growing up where he would only ever teach me if I promised to practice and practice and practice and master that trick, which I never really did. so I've got a couple that have stuck with me through the years, but no, I'm nowhere near.
What brought you to LA? We know that Fletcher's here visiting for our audience and it's listening. Fletcher's visiting here, visiting Oliver here.
Yeah, so I'm a videographer, video editor, photographer. I've been doing that for fun since I was probably 10, so the last 10 years.
Okay.
And I've been seriously doing it for the last 4 years. And I've just got some really great connections down here. I've lived in Washington. I lived in small town, 5,000 people year round for 19 years. And then I moved to Seattle, Washington for 1 year. And just made the jump down here because everywhere you walk, there's an opportunity. Every corner you take, there's an opportunity.
Yeah.
So I've had some fantastic experiences already, and it's just continuing that way. So I'm here for videography.
Okay.
So what is it like moving to a big city? Was it rough starting out? Or?
It wasn't rough. Luckily, I've visited enough to grasp it a little bit, and living in Seattle definitely helped. Honestly, it's really refreshing from being in the small town where literally everybody. When when you go to the grocery store, you'd say hi to everybody because you know them and everybody knows your business. So it's honestly wonderful being here where nobody knows my name and I can just walk down the street and be silent.
Yeah. Unless you start street performing in downtown. It's different. They know you. The locals know you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So what's your favorite beach out here so far?
There's a beach in Malibu, Point Doom, I believe it's called. It's
Yeah.
it's
Point
usually not very crowded. Super, super beautiful. It's got this cliff that looks over the ocean, and then huge long beach, usually really quiet. So I enjoy going there.
Yeah.
I think
Um,
we've been to El Matador. That's one of my favorites. I think that's pretty close to there.
I think so.
Yeah. I've heard of Point Doom, so we gotta
Yeah.
check it out.
You have a favorite beach out here, Fletcher?
You know, I have not spent a whole lot of time in LA, but if it's a beach and there's the ocean nearby, I like that a lot.
Yeah. Depending on how long you're here, it's a little chilly right now. Next week it's supposed to jump pretty hot.
Yeah, I didn't even bring my
Yeah.
jacket. I was like, I'm going to LA. It's going to be warm and sunny.
The weather is bipolar here. Goes
Yeah, we haven't
80,
gotten
60.
quite into that warm all the way yet.
Yeah, I guess
We're
so.
getting there next week. Yeah. Laguna is one of our favorites. Venice is, of course, is one where a lot of people go. It's like the automatic go-to beach.
Right.
Yeah. But welcome to LA.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Glad you enjoy it and everything.
Yeah.
Finding food places okay?
Yes. A lot of sushi places.
Yeah.
Yeah. I love sushi. I've been cooking a lot at home though, honestly.
Okay.
Saving money.
What's some of the best tips that you've gotten that's kept motivated from being out here?
Recently, from my dad, we've talked a lot about just thoughts and feelings that you're not your thoughts. Anything that comes into your head, it's like, oh, there goes my mind thinking again. So it just kind of it helps with negativity and any just any negativity that's kind of wearing down on me. I've learned to kind of, oh, that's just how that's my mind thinking again, and I can continue moving on and looking for the next whatever I'm going towards.
Yeah, because it's a lot of different levels dealing with even the film industry out here, and it's hard not to compare yourself to the ones that are been in the game for a long time, and then you have the independent film scene here. So I definitely understand. I have the same thoughts sometimes as far as just staying motivated and not letting the little thoughts get at you, even just my old music thoughts. Jump in, you should make a beat, or you should write a song, or you should. It's like, I don't do that anymore. I'm not doing it right now. But yeah, I definitely understand those little.
It is so wicked. Our mind is constantly churning out thoughts without our permission, without inviting them, without our consent. Our mind just thinks things. And what Oliver and I were talking about is those thoughts aren't necessarily you. They don't define you. They are going to happen. As long as you're a living being, your mind is going to churn out thoughts. It's a meaning making machine. And so we have to, if it is a thought that's in alignment with what we want, great, pay attention to it. But if it's not, if it's one that's kind of holding you back or pushing you down, we just say, oh, there goes my mind thinking again. It's just like observing it, from an outside perspective. It's really cool.
And it's even hard to know, like, if your mind is even picking at you. Like you say, that's my mind messing with me. But it's like, is it? Oh no, you asking, is it in alignment? And some of those things, it's like, man, is this in alignment? It could possibly be, but and I find that a struggle sometimes too.
Yeah, I was in a situation very recently, this past week, and I was looking at, I know this may sound odd, but I'm kind of an odd person. But I was looking at myself in the mirror, and I was doing this exercise where I was just looking and listening to the thoughts. I was just standing there looking and just like dead into my eyes and just listening to my thoughts and observing them. I was like, oh, there's Fletcher. He's standing there, and there is his mind thinking. And one of the things that came up like really surprised me. We're about to make this real estate investment, and I've had some uncertainty about it, quite a bit of uncertainty. And I've made real estate investments in the past, lots of them, and I didn't necessarily have that level of uncertainty. But what I heard my voice saying was this. It actually said this sentence: I don't know if I can do that. Or no, it said, I don't know if I have what it takes to do this. And when I heard that so clearly, I was like, Amy, my wife was like, oh my gosh, Amy, I got to tell you what my mind was just saying to me, because then that thought triggered the chemistry in my head, when that chemistry is triggered in your head, that's called an emotion. An emotion is simply a chemical reaction in your head, in your brain. And then you feel it in your body, but that's what an emotion is. It's just chemistry. And I realized, like, oh, I'm having all these feelings of uncertainty because my mind, which is not me, has been saying, I don't think I have what it takes to do this. And so it really allowed me to get a new level of clarity about this project that I'm about to embark on. And then I could say, as the person who is the author of my life, actually, I do have what it takes to do this. I definitely have the experience. I've done it before. I'm at a different age, but I have what it takes. So because I had clarity about what my mind was saying, I was able to override it. And when we have that ability, it's very powerful, because so many of us are going through life thinking that these thoughts that we're thinking, we think that we are thinking them. And there's a difference between the mind, the brain, and the body, and us as the observer. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Yeah. And I've heard it a lot before, but I still have a hard time grasping, that I hear a lot, like you are not your thoughts and
Yes.
things like that, but it's still hard to figure out, like you said, some thoughts align and some don't. And does that mean the negative thought is not your own, or you just choosing to align with the thoughts that make sense to you, so that,
Mm-hmm.
like you said, when you override the thought with something more constructive, did that change the chemistry?
Yeah,
And
absolutely.
did you feel different?
Yes, because once I was able to identify the thoughts that were not in alignment and were causing that uncertainty in me, I was able to actually go back to my past and say, look at all the times you've done this successfully. Right.
Mm.
So I was able to focus on that evidence from the past, because whatever we focus on, we feel. In fact, a person once said to me, we were just hanging out. He said, so Fletcher, what do you know for sure? And I said, you know what? The only thing that I know for sure in this life is that whatever I focus on, I feel. Wherever I put my attention, I feel it. Kind of like when we go to a movie, right? You go in there, you get your soda, you get your popcorn, you're watching the movie, and 10 minutes in the movie, maybe you're laughing really hard, and then 15 minutes later, you're crying because of something you're watching, and then laughing again, and then you're on your edge of your seat, right? And then 2 hours later, the movie's done. It's time to go. You get up. You just had this incredible emotional roller coaster ride because you were focused on something that was not even true. It was just not even real. It was just light on a screen.
Yeah.
But our mind cannot tell the difference between what's real and what's not real. I mean, that's a like scientific fact. Like the brain cannot tell the difference, which is why when we're sleeping at night, your brain releases this paralytic chemical. So it partially keeps you still. Otherwise, you'd be getting up and acting out your dreams, right? I mean, it's why people still are able to talk in their sleep. But when I talk in my sleep, I'm like, it's like it's all you can't really decipher what I'm saying, right? Because you're in that you have that chemical in your body. So yeah, whatever we focus on, we feel. So that disempowering thought, if I focus on it, I'm going to feel disempowered. Now, I'm not saying discard all of those thoughts, because there might be a message in there. It might be trying to say, hey, slow down before you invest in this. Slow down. Did you look at it from all these different angles? But in this case, it really wasn't. It was just like, it was a fear-based thought. Because I do have what it takes. But it took me to be like, be alert, or be conscious and present to my life in order to then override that disempowering thought.
What are some of the key things to help you, I guess, to defeat that thought? Because of course there are plenty of people out there constantly telling themselves that I can't go do this for this in particular reason, but have everything that it takes.
Thank you for asking that question. That is such a fantastic question. I'm going to tell you what we can do to combat that. Because remember, my curriculum is called the practice of feeling good. Most people are practiced at not feeling good. They're practiced at feeling insecure, fearful, pessimistic, resistant, closed, right? I mean, we just are, because and from a place of self-protection and we're practiced at it, meaning we're so practiced at it, we don't even have to think about it. Our mind does it for us because it's a program now. Once you've mastered a way of being, it literally becomes a program, just like the software that's running all our laptops and stuff. There are programs. Those programs, they produce a certain predictable outcome. Right. We have programs in our minds, and they produce a very specific outcome. So, and those programs, we didn't set them up. They happened as we grew up, right? From little babes to adult. We weren't in there like saying, okay, now what do I want to be thinking? We never had that conversation. How do I want to think? We don't understand how we think, for most of us, right? And so these programs have been running for years. I mean, there are things in our life where we're like, why can't I seem to, whatever it is, right? I mean, why can't I save that amount of money? Or why can't I find the right relationship? Or why can't I, whatever it is, fill in the blank. It's because you have programs that are preventing you from doing that. Now, to get to your question, Classic, what can people do? You got to set up new programs, because here's the thing. You cannot stop that program. You can't stop it. That program's in there. And in fact, you can't stop anything. A lot of people say, well, stop thinking like that, or stop saying that, or stop doing that behavior. I'm here to tell you, I'm here to tell everybody, you cannot stop anything. And what's confounding about this concept of stopping is that we all believe that you can stop something. We use the word stop all the time. So let me give you an example. Can I use one of those little gems there? If you say, if I'm holding this rock here, and you say, stop holding that rock. Well, I can't stop holding it because it's impossible to stop holding. If I'm holding, it's impossible to stop holding. But if you say, hey, Fletcher, could you loosen the grip on that rock? Oh, now, yeah, I can loosen this. You see, you can't stop anything, but you can begin a new action. You can begin a new way of speaking. You can begin a new way of thinking. You can begin a new way of contributing, right? But you cannot stop anything. Well, I stop my car all the time. No, actually you don't. You begin pumping the brakes, or not pumping, but you apply pressure to the brake, right? You reduce your speed. Isn't that stopping? It's what you're doing is taking a new action so that your car slows down and it may become still. But the stop concept is an illusion. And when we remove that from our vocabulary and our thinking, real possibilities open up. So if there's maybe some person has an addiction to, let's say, alcohol, well, just stop drinking. How does the mind compute that? Stop. Your brain doesn't know how to stop a behavior. And so something more helpful is, hey, let's make a different choice of beverage instead. Or let's try something else, right? Let's take a new action. It's all about taking the new action. And then when you find the action that works, then repetition. Repetition is the mother of skill. And finally, add this into the mix and you've got a really winning combination. Change your language. Change what you are saying to yourself. Look, because your default, look, I don't want my mind on my team. My mind, oh man, it's just like telling me what a terrible person I am all the time, what my shortcomings. I mean, if my mind were a person, I would never want to be around that person. No joke. I mean, just telling me like, I don't have what it takes. I'm too old. My ship has sailed. I mean, all this kind of stuff, right? So what I do instead is I've come up with all sorts of affirmations that I say on a regular basis that have now become programs in my mind. So much, like I can tell you right now, like good things are lined up, stacked up and showing up daily. That's one of the things I say to myself all the time. Good things are lined up, stacked up, and showing up daily. Like in my mind, when I think of that, it's just, I look down the block and it's like parcels lined up for blocks, just stacked up of good things coming into my life. And what that does is it activates a part of your brain called the reticular activation system. It's this little thing right down here at the base of your head, and it's your filtering system. And it acts in alignment with the things that you tell yourself. So if you say stuff like, God, I'm such a dumbass, your RAS says, yes, sir. And now it starts scanning for things out in the physical world to confirm why you're a dumbass, right? Or you can say, I'm resourceful, capable, and flexible, which is one of the things I tell myself all the time. I'm resourceful, capable, and flexible. All that I need is within me now. All that I need is within me now. And I believe that wholeheartedly. So if I'm resourceful, capable, and flexible, and all that I need is within me right now, anything is possible. Now, that doesn't mean that I'm not going to get help from people, right? I mean, I may need your guys' help for something, but I'm resourceful. And so I can enroll you into helping me. I can make a request, right? Doesn't mean I have to do it all by myself or figure it out all by myself.
Right.
So these affirmations are super powerful. Like, who am I? And like defining who you are. Like I've taken the time to like really define who I am in my life, and who I am is a clearing for people to feel heard, safe, and empowered. Like that's who Fletcher Ellingson is. So when I go to a party or something, someone says, hey, so Fletcher, tell me about yourself. Who are you? You know, you get that question and it's like, oh boy, who am I? I'm a father. And you start listing all the roles in your life. Or it's just that awkward message where like, who am I? I don't know, right? No, who I am is a clearing for people to feel safe, heard, and empowered. Like that's who I am. And now again, my mind or my brain that takes orders, it doesn't argue. Your brain does not argue. Even if you say, God, I'm such a dumbass, your brain will just say, okay, we'll look for ways to confirm that you're a dumbass. But if you say, I'm a clearing for people to feel safe, heard, and empowered, it's going to look for opportunities for that to play out.
Right.
Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Some people feel like affirmations are silly, but it's like they are saying negative affirmation all the time without even knowing it. You're
You
like,
got it.
You just make a mistake and you just blurt out all kinds of bad things about yourself.
Exactly.
All the time.
Exactly.
And it's like you're actually saying it all.
Exactly. I mean, our language is so powerful. You create with language.
Mm-hmm.
In fact, I mean, how did we set up this meeting today?
Yes, communication.
Yeah, through language, we created it. How'd you guys get this cool apartment, this cool studio? You created it through language, right? There was some conversation that happened that said, hey, why don't we create the podcast? Or why don't we create this music? Or why don't we create this web development business, right? Why don't we create a marriage? Everything is happening through language. So what if it's like a magic wand, right? I mean, language is like a magic wand. Like anything you say, anything you're doing in your daily life is happening because of your thinking it and then speaking it. So what would happen if we got really intentional about what we were speaking to ourselves and other people and just speaking into the world? What if we became really intentional about it? be really powerful, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
One thing I noticed when I have a negative thought, or I get into a negative space, all the negative things that were sitting around jump right on top
Yes.
of it. And then you're like in this place. And, I have awareness of my thoughts and, I try to combat it. But sometimes all of the thoughts that were sitting back there that you thought you got rid of just all jump in there. And so what do you do in that instance?
Yes. So great question. Again, really good question. This is so helpful for people to have this type of conversation, because we're all dealing with it, right? Even the most well-adjusted people are still dealing with this mind that's constantly chattering away, right?
Yeah.
And so what do? You be intentional about setting up times during the day where you get focused. Because remember, whatever you focus on, you feel. So one of my clients just texted me recently, and they said we've started doing gratitude coffees in the morning, where they've been having coffee in the morning for years, but now they brought a new intention to it. Like, let's start the day with our coffee, which we love, but now we're doing gratitudes. Let's each say, 8 or 9 or 10 things that we're each grateful for. My wife and I, the biggest city close to us is about 45 minutes away. And we go down there to film once a week. And we frequently, on the way down, say, hey, let's do some gratitudes, or let's do some things that we are appreciating or want to be acknowledged for, right? And so when you begin saying what you're grateful for, remember, whatever you focus on, you feel. Man, when you start just laying it out there, what we're grateful for, I mean, your brain then you're literally changing the chemistry in your head at that moment, and you begin to feel that dopamine, that serotonin, those feel-good drugs. Man,
it definitely works.
Yeah, it really does.
The gratitude.
Yeah. So become intentional. I'm still a big believer in journaling. I believe in putting down my thoughts, and I do gratitudes. I do my incantations. Another one of my incantations is I navigate the now, or I meet the moment with a light heart, and I navigate the now with ease and joy. So that's a great one when I start feeling a bit anxious about something, or I get triggered by something. Oh, wait, hold on. Let me get back to this. Oh yeah. I meet the moment with a light heart. I navigate the now with ease and joy, right? Now, this is going way beyond the Facebook meme, right? These where all the feel good sayings are. This is not just this is incorporated into life, right? Where it becomes part of the program, it becomes the practice of feeling good. Yeah, good questions.
Yeah. I don't know.
Did you guys want to talk about the anatomy of a breakdown still?
Yeah, actually, it kind of goes with what we were just talking about.
It really does.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So what do you mean by that? First of all,
Sure.
breakdown.
Yeah. So what is it that is causing so much suffering in people? Like we go through our day, we have these upsets, and they can be simple. They could be, sometimes they're, you get a upset, it's a minor upset. Sometimes the upsets are huge and they last all day or last longer, right? They affect your mood. I mean, because your personal upset, whether it's in your personal life or business life, I mean, can that affect your relationship with Classic too?
Yeah, I mean, everything is connected. Right?
Absolutely, everything is connected. But why do we get upset? What is causing an upset? What causes any upset?
It's usually emotional or just a reaction a lot of times.
Things not going as expected, I guess.
Yeah. Now you're onto it.
Having expectations.
Yes. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So what I'd like to suggest to you, and this is not the truth necessarily, but because I don't believe there's any truth. I believe nothing's good, bad, right, or wrong. Nothing's true or false. What I always tell my clients is just try it on. See if it serves your life. That's the important question to me, is not whether it's right or wrong. It's like, does this serve my life? And see how it feels. But so I encourage you to consider that there are only 3 things that cause any upset, from the smallest stubbed my toe to the upset which leads to war. There are only three things. And you just mentioned one of them. One of the things that consistently causes upsets in our lives is an unmet expectation. Yeah. When we have an expectation and it's not met, we have a sense of upset, frustration, right? Anger, disappointment. Now, there's nothing wrong with having expectations. That's how we have to go through life, having expectations. We expect that the sun will come up. I imagine if the sun didn't come up tomorrow, people would be pretty upset, right?
Afraid,
upset, worried, afraid, right? Yeah. So, but when for instance, like gypC, let's say you come home and you open the door and classics, yeah, he left his dirty socks right there in the hallway. I've talked to him about this. He said he was going to do something about it. So I had this expectation that this wouldn't happen anymore. But here they are. They're his dirty socks right there in the hallway. And now there's an upset because I had this expectation. Now, I'm not saying your upset is good, bad, right, or wrong. It's just a reaction, right?
Right.
So an unmet expectation creates an upset. The other thing that creates an upset is a thwarted intention. I'll give you an example. I love going to Maui. We go to Maui once and sometimes twice a year. And during COVID, we had tickets to go to Maui. And then COVID hit and couldn't go to Maui. I had this intention of going to Maui and it was now thwarted. So big deal, first world problems. I know I'm just using it as an example, right? But there was an upset there, right? I was very excited. I had this intention of going to my favorite place in the world, and then I couldn't. So there's an upset. Or I'm intending to, or you have, or someone you get the word that you've got this promotion, and you're intending to go into this promotion and kick ass and have a great time and create all this stuff, and you get in there, and oh my gosh, the group of people that I'm working with are the most resistant group of people ever. I mean, they're thwarting all my best intentions, right? And now I'm upset because it wasn't like what I was intending to do, right? And finally, the third thing is that creates an upset is a miscommunication or an undelivered communication. Two different flavors, but both around communication, right? And so we've all had miscommunications, right?
Yes. Yeah.
And some of them are like, oh, okay, no big deal. But some of them are like, babe, you were supposed to be here an hour ago, right?
Yeah.
Well, I thought you said 12. No, I said 1. Oh, well, no, this is all ruined now, right? So there's a miscommunication. That's a miscommunication. Yeah. But what's an example of an undelivered communication? An undelivered communication would be when, let's say, gypC wants something done in a very specific way around the house, and classic doesn't know it. But gypC doesn't communicate that because she's like, I don't want to upset him, or I don't want to be too demanding. Or he won't be able to handle my communication. Let's just, something like that. So that's an undelivered communication. So I'm withholding a communication because I'm actually not trusting that other person that they can handle it. Right. So those are the three things. So next time you get upset, this is really powerful. Next time you get upset, like really, after you calm down and work it all out, whether it's with you guys or with just you and yourself, because we get upset with ourselves too. This is about one-on-one too, right? But ask yourself, like, whoa, what was causing that upset? Was it a undelivered communication, a miscommunication? Was it a thwarted intention? Was it an unmet expectation? It's going to fall into one of those every single time.
Sometimes multiple.
And sometimes multiple. Yeah. Exactly. Yeah. A perfect example of that would be like, Oliver might be like, oh my gosh, I'm coming down to LA with the intent to get into videography and just have a rocking good time. And I'm expecting that people are going to be knocking down my door and I'm going to be connecting. And he gets down here and it's like crickets. I'm not saying that's the case, right? But that would be like,
it happens to a lot of people.
but it happens to a lot of people, right?
People.
Yeah.
Totally.
So there was an expectation and an intention, right? So sometimes it's 2 or 3 of the things. And the more of the things that are, the more of those 3 things that are happening at once, the larger the upset's going to be.
Right.
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 Yeah.
So once we know what causes an upset, we have a real advantage in life. We can begin to radically change the outcomes in our life because we can get way more clear in our communication. We can begin trusting more people that they can handle what we have to say, right? One of the things I say is I have to trust that people can handle my authentic self. Don't make them small, like, oh, they can't handle it. I don't want to tell them that because it'll probably upset them. When we do that, we're diminishing their power. Instead, I'm going to say, oh, I know Oliver. I mean, I get that this might be a sensitive subject for him, but I'm going to trust that he can handle what I have to say. I'm going to trust that he's powerful enough to do that. When we begin seeing people to be powerful, then it'll freeze us up to be more authentic. Would you agree with that? Yeah. And so once we know this, we can really begin to change the outcomes. We get clear about our expectations. And then we can reset our expectations. Oh, that didn't work out. Got it. Well, I'm a powerful creator. So let's get back to the creation board and create something else. And would it be okay if I shared the 5C methodology? Because it's related to upsets. But before we move on, there's another way of saying all of this. The reason people get upset is because life simply is not matching up to what's in their head, to the vision in their head.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Yeah.
I thought that person was gonna, work with me and be my partner. I thought I was gonna be able to trust them. I thought we were well aligned, and we're not, right? So life wasn't matching up with the vision that I had in my head. And when I realized that as well, then I get to say, oh, that upset belongs to me. It's no one else's fault, right? Now we're talking about radical ownership, radical responsibility, which is really an exciting prospect, because when we become radically responsible for our lives, whoa, right? No more finger pointing.
Right.
A number of years ago, I got divorced. And for me, for a lot of years, I was saying, well, I mean, it was 50% my problem. It was 50% my fault. I'll raise my hand. It was 50% my fault. And then thought about that. I was like, well, that means I'm saying the other 50% is her fault. So if it's 50% her fault, that means I'm probably giving 50% of my power away. Well, then I started looking at my life. Well, in my work life and my friendships, am I giving my power away? Am I saying, well, it's 30% Oliver's fault, 10% Classic's fault, and 10% gypC's fault? How about if I just say, I was not able to make my marriage work, and my divorce was 100% my responsibility? I'm talking radical responsibility. I was unable to make my marriage work with the tools that I had in my life at that time. That was my best, right?
Yeah.
100% responsible. I'm 100% responsible for my own upset. And again, when we do that, it's a real sense of freedom. Because it's just, because blame never feels good. I mean, it feels good in the short moment or in the moment sometimes, you're like, well, it's their fault. You get that dopamine hit, but in the long run, you realize, no, that was me, 100% me. But any questions before I move on?
I can say that's for the good and the bad for those situations.
Yes.
Don't forget to give yourself credit for the good as well.
Yeah. Right. Yeah. Yes. I love that. Yeah. Take credit for the good things in your life. Celebrate them. Right.
Yeah.
Celebrate the cool things that the wins. Yeah, absolutely. Thanks for adding that.
For me, I noticed most of my upsets come from the expectation part. And I realized that as an adult, like I struggle with that as a kid. Like if I always say I'm gonna do everything that I said I was gonna do, but sometimes your plans involve other people. So if my parents say they're gonna take me somewhere on the weekend, if that didn't happen, it's the end of the world for me as a kid. And some of that still lingers as an adult, and I have to recognize that, like, because sometimes I'll try to force it, like, even I don't know, like certain things, even say a podcast or something, and I have a certain schedule, but like say the internet crashes or something and I can't upload a video.
Yep.
I will move everything in my just to make it work. I'll go to a coffee shop and maybe the coffee shop has slow internet. I've just made this crazy day for myself just because I'm like, no, it has to happen exactly how I expected it to happen. So I realized like that's something I struggle with my whole life. Like,
on the other hand, I'm like, it's just one day.
No, it's the end of the world for me. Like, so that's something I had to recognize.
Be back on track.
Yeah, it's for me. It's like I had to recognize that, and so I can try to fix it for next time.
Yes,
that's really good.
So that's why I came up with that. With the reasons of not meeting expectation being one of the reasons, because that's something I deal with a lot.
It's a great example. It's a great example. Oliver just had an upset recently regarding your IRS taxes, right?
Oh,
your refund.
Yep.
Yeah.
That's upset.
I want to put an emphasis on what you just said about celebrating the good things.
Yeah.
A lot of the times I feel guilty for celebrating something that I did well, because I'm constantly bogging down on myself. You did that terribly. That didn't go well. You could have done that better. And like you said earlier, it's that system that just works automatically. And so then I feel guilty for celebrating myself when I do something I'm proud of or happy with. Yeah. And so I'm glad you mentioned that, because that's something I've been practicing a lot recently. And it just feels good. It feels good when you do something good.
Yeah.
So it's good to celebrate it.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And we're kind of living in a time where it's easy to just say, that something is good, or click a like, or even just, help someone just by speaking, to them, telling them, this is a good thing. I'm proud of what you've done. And it has diminished in the general public to a certain degree, to where a lot of things have become competitive. So
totally,
you have to practice, saying that you're proud of yourself. It's one of when I was in DC, I could say it wasn't the most creative energy, but it was a place, and I made a song. It's on my SoundCloud. It's the Proud of Me. It's kind of like a affirmation, but it's after making it, even as an instrumental, something is to listen to. And, I'm glad I made it after so long, to where and that's basically the words, just saying, I'm proud of me. I've come so far. A lot of people, I've learned that out here in LA. I picked up a lot of lonely people, dropped off a lot of lonely people. They're out here to pursue their careers, but they're dehydrated of a hug. They could really use just a genuine hug, or just, that. And so that's something that, you definitely have to practice, telling yourself, I'm proud of me, and not feeling guilty about it.
Absolutely. Yeah, really good point you guys are both making there, because we're also taught in this, in our culture, like, no boasting, no bragging, don't be braggadocious, don't be arrogant, right? Yeah. No, it's not even a fine line. It's totally different to be just like, hey, I want to share something really cool that happened in my life. I feel really good about it. I'm feeling proud about it, right? Yeah. And to have people in your community that you can do that with, That's so valuable, right? Yeah, really good.
Because especially as creators, a lot of people still kind of don't grasp the struggle that a lot of creators, have when just the basis of building a YouTube channel. You think it'll be a lot easier now.
I could say, because I go in between the two, and it's like when you're at a 9 to 5 or some other type of non-creative work, like you have a boss and you have a paycheck to tell you that you're doing a great job, or you have this positive reinforcement. But when you're like working in silo by yourself on a project, there's no, you're doing a great job,
you don't have any other source to tell you that you're doing a good job.
Yeah.
Totally.
Yeah. And sometimes you're comparing yourself to
right.
something else at the same time while still working with what you have. And you just gotta, learn how to say, yeah, okay, I'm proud of me. It's gonna get better. Or
Yes.
It's good as it is, however you feel, and work with it that way.
Yeah. And yes, I love that. Yeah. We got to be our own cheerleaders, especially, you just brought up such a great point. Yeah. For those of us who are working for ourselves, don't have that external affirmation of somebody else, we have to be that person for ourselves too. And this is why this conversation is so important. Consistent self-improvement, right? That's part of how you're going to improve, is by taking care of yourself, like talking lovingly and kindly and encouraging to yourself, right? Because we don't always have that other person to do it for us. So yeah, really good stuff. Hope everyone's picking this up, because this is some really good stuff. Yeah.
We try to be a little repetitive with it sometimes. So
yeah,
I do pick it up. I know the only way I've grasp a lot of things out here dealing with even your thoughts, period, is because it's repetitive.
Yep.
So we've gotten out of that as far as feeling like we've repeated things multiple times. Things have to be repeated multiple times.
Absolutely. Repetition is the mother of skill. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
So let's talk about the 5C method real quick.
Yeah.
Okay. I'll buzz through it because I think it's super helpful in alignment with this conversation. So one of the ways to like really get out of an upset too is the 5 C's. The first C stands for get calm. Just get calm. And I know when you tell somebody else like, hey, Oliver, calm down. I know that never sets well with somebody, but right. I'm not talking about trying to
deep breath.
Yeah. Not telling somebody else to be calm. We're just saying it to ourselves. Like, oh, hold on. Let me get calm. Let me calm down. Because when we're not calm, when we're upset, angry, and fearful, the brain actually shuts down the part of the brain that is required for reasoning. So you literally don't have access to your reasoning functions when you are in that level of upset. So that's why, like, okay, get calm, take a breath, like you said, right? Just take a moment, get calm. The next C is get curious instead of getting judgmental, right? Like, especially like when we're behind the wheel of a car, man, the most peaceful person can just become like, what the hell are you driving 5 miles under the speed limit for? Right.
Yeah.
So instead of becoming judgmental, like, can we get curious? Like, hey, I wonder what's going on for that person.
Yeah.
Right. Maybe they just got out of the hospital and they're sore and they're like being cautious. Maybe they were in an accident last month. Right.
And that's kind of one of my things when driving. I don't like to blow the horn, unless it's just, you have to, because it's nerve wracking.
Yeah.
Right.
So, and you never know, even when the person, whoever's driving, if you blow the horn, it could, make them discombobulated. They may not know. It could be an old person or something. So that's always something.
Right. Right.
That I do.
Yeah. So get curious. Yeah. Yeah. And consider it. Yeah. Right. I mean, I could add a 6th C, consider it. Right. So get curious, like, what's going on for that person or my coworker, or, what's going on for my coworker, instead of judging them like, their work has been subpar. Hey, let's get curious. What's going on for them? Maybe there's something going on at home. Maybe they got a health issue that I don't know about. Let's get curious. Same thing for us. Like, what's going on for me? Get curious about, why am I feeling this way? Why am I not hitting the mark that I want to hit? Get curious. And then the third C is to get compassionate when we're upset with somebody else, right? Because curiosity, once you get curious, like, what's going on for them? and maybe you get into conversation. Ooh, conversation. There's a seventh C, right? When you get into curious and you get into conversation with him, you're going to discover, like, oh, geez, I didn't know that was going on for you. Now you can have an opportunity to become compassionate. And then sometimes you're going to need, it's going to require courage, because in an upset, you might be fearful, right? And so it's going to take some courage to move past this. And courage is simply the act of re-envisioning this current situation better than it is. It's seeing through this current situation all the way over to the other side, where it's all resolved, where there's a better outcome. That's what courage is. When you're courageous, you're walking through your fear because your focus is on the other side of where it has been resolved, where it all works out. And so it takes practice to become courageous, but that's another one of the C's. And then the final C, the fifth C, and this is the exciting part, is get creative. Like, what else could I do here now, or what else do we want to create? Frequently in our family, we talk about, hey, what do we want to create? And sometimes when we go on vacation together, we literally have the conversation of like, hey, what do we want to create on this vacation? You know, and it might be like, oh, I want to create connection, or I want to create adventure or fun, or I just want to chill out, right? It's again, comes back to language that we're using. We create with our language. So the 5 C's again are, you calm down, you get curious about you or the other person or what's going on, you get compassionate, you get courageous, and finally you create again. You're like, because sometimes, have you ever been in those upsets and conflict conversations where it's just like accusation, defense, yeah, and no ground is being gained here, right?
Yeah.
You're just like two opposing forces, and all you're doing is accusing and defending or explaining. That is so different from like, hey, what do we want to create here? Can we agree on what we want to create? Like, right? That's a game changer, because it's interrupting the pattern. Again, remember, we're just programs, and we've been programmed to defend, accuse, explain, justify, coerce, manipulate. Like, let's clear all of that off. Let's have a conversation like, hey, gypC, what do you want to create here? It's like so powerful when we get to that conversation. But we got to clear the clutter first, right?
Yeah.
All right, on.
Keep talking. Yeah. Pretty good.
Even when you said calming your brain into, it blocks the reasoning part, and that would make sense why fear is so irrational.
Yes.
It's because you don't have that reasoning
You got
part.
it.
You're just,
You got it.
going off.
And what's cool about this is that they've mapped the brain so extensively now that they can see like that. They can see like when someone's experiencing fear, that quadrant of that part of the brain where reasoning happens doesn't light up. Right? It just like goes dark.
Yeah.
And so it's cool that all of this is scientifically backed up now.
Yeah. Yeah. Even meditation, I've seen it's a lot of these things that used to be kind of woo is like starting to be proven by science. Even like the power of meditation, it's extending like the telomere. Is it a gland? I don't know what it is, but it's just like, all of these things are being proven by science.
Yeah.
Which is pretty cool.
Yeah. Stanford has all these cool tests about mapping the brain and which areas are lighting up and everything. It's really fascinating. Get a chance to check it out.
Yeah.
So Maui.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
What are some of the best places or some of the things that we should check out when we visit Maui for the first time? We've never been to Hawaii.
Oh,
Been a few
okay.
places.
We have our radar on it
Yeah,
recently.
it jumped on the radar. Yeah.
Yeah. It is, like I said, it is one of the most magical places I've ever been to. And I love going there. We already have our next trip planned. This past time we went to watch the whales. So
How was that?
it was, so my expectation was that well, we were going to see one or two and it might be cool. No, we saw literally hundreds of humpback
Wow.
whales
Wow.
from the shore. Just you can see them from the shore. And if you got binoculars, it's like seeing them up close. Like these humpback whales, these massive, some of the biggest mammals on our planet, like just jumping and breaching and just like full body and then boom, just
Yeah.
it's spectacular to see something that massive. And then their babies. So anyways, February, March, and April are the months that they go back to
Migrate.
Maui. They come down from Alaska and they go to the same channel in Maui every year, like thousands of these whales, and that's where they mate and they give birth. And so you just look out there and with a pair of binoculars, it's like fireworks. It's awesome. You're just like, oh my gosh, there's another one. I mean, when we first, because we'd never seen them, and when we first started, I was like, we literally were like, oh my gosh, there's another one. Amy, check. And the people in the condo above us were doing the same thing. I mean, everyone's out on their deck. They're like, oh, did you see that one? It was spectacular. So if you go in that time, and you go to the Kaanapali, west coast of Maui, you'll just see them. It's not like, oh, I hope we see it. No, you will see whales. See these the big dorsal fins like slapping the water. I don't know why they're doing all this, but like they're just causing a commotion out there. And the big tail. I mean, it is unbelievable.
It's a way of communication when they're like breaching and
Yes.
smashing down. Like you can hear it, I think, from hundreds, maybe 1,000 miles away.
The whales can.
They're
Yeah.
signaling to each other,
Right.
basically.
Yeah.
That's pretty awesome that you saw that many, because out here during migration season, you might see like one or two pass by. I personally see them. A lot of people don't, and I usually have to flag it, but we've been on a whale watching tour here in
Only saw
Newport Beach.
dolphins.
Yeah, you never see whales.
Oh, really?
And we've
Yeah.
had several people tell us like they've done those tours and they've never seen a
Oh,
whale.
man.
Yeah.
You see plenty of dolphins, but
Well,
not
we did-
whales.
Yeah.
Stood
dolphins.
at Laguna Beach right down the shore and
Yeah.
seen them. Whales pass by.
Oh,
So
cool.
we
Wow.
thought by going to those tours, we'd definitely see it because it's the same area, but we never
No.
saw
Yeah.
it.
Bunch
Yeah.
of dolphins though.
Yeah.
Lot
That's
of
cool
dolphins.
too.
Yeah.
And we also went snorkeling. There's a great place called Black Rock. And there's it's one of my favorite places to go to. Snorkeling is not the best there, but it's a great place just to chill and hang out. And but we went snorkeling out there and we went around this cove, and there was a cove, like a U-shaped cove. And when you put your head underneath the water, it was a chorus of humpback whales singing. It was like, am I hearing this? I mean, I popped my
That's
head back up and I was
crazy.
like, did I actually just hear that? Go underneath the water? Sure enough, and it's nonstop. It wasn't like, oh yeah, let me try to hear them. No, it was just like constant whales, and it was being amplified off this U-shaped cove. It was
Wow.
wicked.
Wow.
I'd
Yeah.
love to
You
experience
just sold
that.
Maui.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, there's some wonderful things there. Even if you go when the whales aren't there, there's the bamboo forest, and
Yeah.
there's
We love snorkeling.
oh,
So yeah, we're definitely gonna be interested in the water activities.
yeah. Turtles galore. So
Wow.
like the big ones, right?
Yeah, the
Mm.
leatherbacks.
Yeah. So, and you're right there close to them.
Yeah.
So-
Oliver, do you snorkel?
Yeah. Yep.
Okay. Well,
I,
yeah, tag along sometime when we go to Laguna
yeah,
Beach. Well,
Please,
Seriously.
please,
We're
seriously.
always looking for somebody to go with.
I would love
Yeah.
that. I would absolutely love that.
Yeah.
Now, are there places to snorkel around here?
Yeah, that's
Laguna
Laguna. That's
Beach
one of the.
is
Okay.
where we go. There's a
little
lot of
clearer.
people that snorkel and dive. I'm losing the word. Scuba dive.
Scuba dive.
Yeah,
Uh-huh.
there's
A
a
lot
lot
of
of
them
scuba
out there.
divers and snorkelers.
Have you
Okay.
guys gone scuba diving before?
No,
That's
not
like
yet.
one of my dreams to
Yeah.
go deep sea scuba diving. I would absolutely love that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I want to take the free diving classes to get to where I can hold my breath to up to like
Yeah.
at least 4 to 5 minutes.
Right,
You know,
right.
I like free diving.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Cool. That's fun. Have
Yeah,
you done any breath work?
not quite, yeah, but nothing professional,
Uh-huh.
professional or anything. Yeah, but I'm definitely interested. Nothing other than the YouTube channel, but I'll get there. I think they're like, I think it's maybe a week. I think the class is maybe a week. Not too sure.
Yeah, and
They
they
say maybe the
promise
first 2
you,
days.
like,
yeah, you'll get
Several
at least
minutes.
about 4 or 5 minutes of holding your breath.
That's cool. Oliver and I experimented with that a bit, didn't we?
Yeah.
Yeah, it was pretty cool. We were using the Wim Hof method.
Okay, yeah.
So yeah, if you're not familiar with, look up Wim Hof.
Yeah, we're familiar.
I think it's WIM, right? HOFF. But that was a neat methodology for breath control. And I think I got up to 3 minutes and 20 seconds. And for me, like I was like, that's unheard of. That's not possible.
Yeah,
Right?
I always struggle with a minute.
But then you do the methodology and it works. And this particular methodology, this is going to sound counterproductive, but you actually, you do all this hyperventilating breathing, and you have so much oxygen in your body, and the last thing you do is you blow everything out, everything. You just like, until your stomach is contracting, you blow it all out, and then you stop. You don't take another breath, and you're not breathing. You just blew out everything you had, and you're totally fine. And that's when I got my personal record of 3 minutes and 20 seconds, like blew out my breath because there was such a surplus of oxygen in my body. And I was like, when I heard about it, I was like, what? That can't work. But it actually does. It's really cool.
Yeah, the human body is amazing.
It really is.
What is it? I think is it mammalian breathing or something like that, to where when the human body is completely underwater, it's like a instinct kicks in that allows you to hold your breath a little longer.
Right.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
That's interesting to me.
Yeah. Pretty wicked, huh?
Yeah.
Yeah. You have to like, there's that one part where you'll start like, your body also will start trying to like breathe.
Yeah.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember reading about that, and they're like, you have to go past that.
Right.
You have to go past that point.
You think only blacking out is past that.
But then your body's like, okay, I'm done trying to breathe for a few more seconds, right? Yeah. And this one woman who was telling me about her experience was saying, at that moment too, we were talking about how the mind is so loud and starts saying stuff. She said, my mind became so active and so adamant about what a jerk I was, and like, you better like come up and start breathing. I mean, it was just like went off on her, and she's like, but then I went past it. So.
Telling you, we're gonna die. We're gonna die. Yep. It's like, it's just one person.
Yeah. That's right. Yeah, it's a whole new level of consistent self-improvement, right?
Yeah. Well, before we get ready to close it out, I'm sure we're probably getting hungry. Is there any new information that you'd like to share? Any upcoming projects?
Nope. I'm still continuing to speak and coach. And if you want to get in touch with me and have a discovery call, or find out what it looks like to work with me, you can call me at 509-679-0927, or go to FletcherEllingson.com, or you can go to thepracticeoffeelinggood.com. I got all sorts of cool stuff there on the website that they can check out, and some free resources there. I would point you to my Facebook account, but that got hacked recently and deactivated.
Oh, no.
So it was some
Instagram hacked your Facebook. Huh?
Yes, something like that. Yeah. Right. Yeah. So don't go there, but yeah, just FletcherEllingson.com. Get in touch with me, and let's have a conversation.
Definitely. We really thank you for coming in physically and having the conversation and sharing the energy, and it's just showing us magic, teaching us magic.
Know, right?
It's been an awesome conversation.
Yeah.
We'd like to thank our listeners, our viewers, our donators, our supporters, everybody that subscribed. We appreciate your support. And
for the podcast, you can find us at americangypsy.com. There you will also find links to luamli.com, where we have consistent self-improvement merch. And we have music.
You can check out
Um,
some music
Mm.
under Classic Carpenter, KLACCIK CARPENTA. That's on Spotify, iTunes, Apple Music, that's the same thing. Tidal,
all major
YouTube, all major
platforms.
platforms. I'll learn some other ones eventually. But that's where you can find some instrumental cello stuff, some vocals, electronic music from the soundtracks of our American gypC soundtrack for our YouTube. And thank you again to everyone. Thank you again, Fletcher and Oliver.
Thank you.
It's been amazing. Consistent self-improvement to everyone, and peace.
Peace.